It's always a beautiful day for me each time I sit here and have conversations with you. I may not be seeing you one on one, but I know that we are talking because every day you sit down here, we discuss one thing or the other. The program is Weekend Deal, and I'm Elizabeth Awai. As usual, we'll be tackling one thing or the other in the society, and guess what? Today we intend to look at multiple taxation. Yes. But let's get to understand the nitty-gritty of it all with this backgrounder. Courtesy of Francis.
The development of any nation depends on the amount of revenue generated by the government for the provision of infrastructural facilities. One of the sources of revenue for government is taxation, which is the key to unlocking the resources required for public investment and infrastructural growth.
Basically, when we talk about tax, we're talking about a compulsory levy. It's a compulsory levy that each citizenry is expected to pay to the government. And also, it is a form of payments that are equally made on goods and services that are rendered. So that at the end of the day, government have revenue to be able to carry out the responsibilities. And what are the responsibilities? We're talking about provision of infrastructure, securities, and so on.
What we have seen over the years is that big corporation, big men and women, including even public officers, they tend to pay tax. But the ordinary person selling pure water, Accra on the street, is being harassed, intimidated, exploited, and double taxes collected by the authorities. So this is not a fair collection of tax.
There are different types of taxes payable by persons doing business in Nigeria, which include companies income tax, personal income tax, capital gains tax, value added tax, education tax, technology tax, stamp duties, withholding tax, petroleum profit tax. The list goes on and on.
For individual, basically, it's enshrined under the Personal Income Tax Act, where those that are earning salary are expected to pay what we call PE, pay as you earn. While those that are working, that generate income on individual basis, we are talking about sole proprietor enterprises. This set of people are what we call under Peter. There is still form of where they pay based on the schedule, which is more or less like that of PE. Only that because the business is now viewed as an individual. So those are the basic taxes they are expected to pay.
The tax system in Nigeria has undergone various policy changes geared at a more effective and efficient way of tax collection and administration. Despite these changes, there are still a number of issues that need to be looked into. One of such is the multiplicity of taxes.
There are instances where there is conflict between the national law and the state law. Like for instance, if you go to a state like Lagos State, they carry out what they call on the FRS carry what they call VAT. Now, on the way VAT is a consumption tax, which we know. But Lagos State and some other states equally enacted a local law that allowed them to carry out consumption tax. So if you look at it from that angle, you will say the taxpayer is being double taxed on a single income. We need to be able to test these things in the law court.
There are a number of issues that are responsible for this. One is desperation to generate revenue, whether legally or illegally. Secondly, there is also lack of coordination among different tiers of governments, because sometimes you see in some places local government collects, state collects, market official collects, and in some instances even federal government collects. So you need to properly define how taxation should be.
Beside multiple taxation, there are multiple agencies that companies have to deal with outside those required by the Constitution.
There's need to educate whoever government is sending to collect this tax, and with the proper identification. Two, in this modern era of technology, we should even minimize direct physical contact in terms of collecting this money.
Going forward, citizens must be committed to meeting their tax obligation, while the government must be seen to be discharging its responsibilities to the governed.
We publish this report, which is women in informal sector and the challenges of multiple taxation. We publish this, to help educate and enlighten market women, as particularly, those ones that have been harassed by these tax collectors, because they come to collect this money they'll come in the morning, they'll come in the afternoon, they'll come in the evening. And this is really not fair.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today is on multiple taxation in Nigeria, challenges and prospects. Weekend Deal!
Beautiful. And moving on, when we talk about tax, a lot of things happen, a lot of speculations, occur. A lot of things are going on in our heads, but I really don't understand it when they say certain people, pay more than certain other people. I've heard things like, the big people pay less than the poor people or something like that. I don't know. But I know that someone who really did an in-depth research, that's Bayo Ogori, did an in-depth research and is trying to express or ask the question and get as well answers. Do the big people pay less or more than the poor people? That's it.
The west to east coastal rail line from Lagos to Calabar, linking Onitsha, Benin, Warri, Yenagoa, Port Harcourt, Aba, and Uyo.
I'm glad, and the nation, that the railway system is being revitalized. That for me is very important. I grew up with railways. Railways have been part of my life everywhere I go.
These are benefits of taxation. With the plunge in Nigeria's revenue earnings owing to a halt in international trade and travels due to the coronavirus pandemic and a drop in global oil demand, experts have cautioned that there is a need to look inwards through efficient taxation policy.
Government has started looking at the right direction. We need to start looking beyond oil. Tax is the future. Government need to see tax as a more sustainable form of revenue as compared to oil, which is fluctuates every now and then. So government emphasis should be on how to increase tax base. Once we get our tax base increase, the revenue will grow over time and we'll be able to meet these shortfalls that we are experiencing in the revenue of government.
There is a growing concern among industry watchers that taxable Nigerians should be captured into the tax net to shore up government revenue.
Essentially, we've not developed a robust framework for taxing high net worth individuals in Nigeria. The framework is still at teething stage, and they want to believe that over time, with a recent World Bank report said that we have about 20,000 persons high net worth who are paying taxes now. It means that it's growing steadily, but then it's still a far cry from where it ought to be. Considering the fact that another report from the CBN says that the concentration of wealth deposit in Nigerian commercial banks, 5% of Nigerians, are in control of 80% of the deposit in Nigerian banks. It means that 5% should have ordinarily been the target of the tax authorities, but that's not the case today as it is.
Analysts are of the view that low-income earners in the formal and informal sectors seem to pay more taxes than high-net-worth individuals. Tax consultants have advised that over-reliance on oil revenue is no longer sustainable and should be a thing of the past. They opine that more people should be made to pay tax with focus on luxury and property items.
The poor people pay more tax than the rich. And the government should go after the rich ones. They know those people that own big companies. They should go after them. I think I learned sometimes weeks ago that they want to be deducting the tax at source. I think it is better if they can be deducting it at source to their bank account. They should be removing the tax from there. By so doing, people will not be evading taxes.
Low-income earners pay taxes more than the rich, because in Nigeria, the rich don't even obey the law. The rich appear to be above the law, and the government appears to be after the low-income earners. Even the law enforcement agencies are after the low-income earners, enforcing them to pay the taxes, whereas the rich are not paying, and they are not doing anything about it.
We don't really have much of punitive measures against people not paying the right taxes in Nigeria. And as long as that leeway is available for people, they will want to evade taxes. We that are in practice, individuals would want to tell you how much they want to pay as tax, not you computing for them and letting them know this is what you ought to pay. The framework has not been structured in such a way that individuals who evade taxes are made to bear the full brunt of the law until we get that aspect right, where people are made, to forfeit some of their properties if that is what the law require, or even go to jail. Yes, as soon as we get that aspect in place, the things it will get better.
Governments at all levels would have more funds to provide social services and public infrastructure if we pay our taxes, with visible improvements in the area of critical infrastructures like roads, schools, rail networks, healthcare, and much more.
Okay, multiple taxations as it's obtained in Nigeria. Interesting. All right, I tell you, more will be unfolded because I have a guest with me. But before I get to showcase my guest, let's quickly take a brief walk to find out the effects of multiple taxations on the small and medium scale industry. The numbers are on the screen. Remember, I told you that tables will be rocked, including my own table. So if you have issues bothering you, write while the guest is still around to answer you. And if you have suggestions to make it better, still same. I have with me here, the guests. So I have opportunity of asking my questions one-on-one. But I'll leave you wondering as to who my guest is. For now, let's go to Ibadan and find out multiple taxation and its effect on SMEs.
Governments all across the world have a basic responsibility of providing basic amenity for its citizenry. The running of government organs cannot be carried out effectively if funds are not available. The citizens have an obligation to the government through prompt payment of taxes which are used for developmental projects. However, double taxation occurs when taxes are paid on some services of earned income twice, and these have a long-term effect on SMEs and the tax system in Nigeria.
The issue of tax should be moderate, and for the workers should be paid as you earn. That is a normal thing. But when people are overtaxed, it will have a adverse effect on the economy and on the citizen.
That means there will be tension on the naira. Naira will continue to slide. because we want to buy foreign produced goods, because the prices of those ones, are cheaper than the locally produced goods.
It will erode the performance and even the profitability of that small and medium-term enterprises, which invariably the burden will be transferred to members of the community, that is through charging of exorbitant prices.
Multiple taxation could be counterproductive if it is excessively applied. Multiplicity of taxes is one of the major problems facing countries and corporate entities, especially the SMEs. Payment of normal taxes in one part of the country on goods is not an assurance of not paying similar taxes on the same goods en route to destination across the country.
With the multi-tax system by the government, it has been a burden for small businesses, whereby most of our products we already have a fixed price, and we have the local government come around for their kind of levies. We have state government taxes we have to pay too, despite the fact that we do pay import duties, VAT here and there, and also we source a lot of our products locally from other manufacturers, and this all these joined together, it's kind of too exorbitant for a small brand like ours, which we are trying to grow.
Paying tax, paying this, it's really not convenient for us because we're just coming up. We need to balance with what we know as the prices out there, and at the same time we are not a PLC or a big multinational company that has overhead and they have a lot of products that they can put their overhead on. We are just trying to come into the market.
How best can this problem of multiple taxation be tackled in order to encourage SMEs to grow?
There should be harmonization of all taxes so that both the federal government, the state government, and local government, they will come up with harmonization of taxes to avoid multiple taxation, especially on our small and medium enterprises in the country.
It is, however, opined that if the three tiers of government and relevant agencies saddled with the responsibility of collection of taxes can work together, it will help the small and medium-scale enterprises owners to grow, and the country's GDP will be better for it.
All right. It is weekend here, and I see a lot of people are already sending their messages when I have not even introduced my guests. Okay, I'll quickly do that now, and we get talking. You, me, and him. You already know he's a man. So his name is Malik Toku. He is the director tax for the FCT International Internal Revenue Services. That's the director tax FCT Internal Revenue Services. Yeah. Malik Tuku, nice to have you with us.
Yeah, welcome, ma'am.
All right.
Good morning.
Okay,
Good morning.
there are questions already coming here, but you see, I'm home based. So when you're home based, you have an advantage. So I want to ask my own first. Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask, why would people, pay tax? That's the very paramount question on a lot of people's mind. Yeah. Why do we need to pay tax when we don't have, commiserating results or effects or benefits as we think we should?
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. You're welcome. Good morning, house. The tax is as old as the civilization itself. Basically, government collect taxes to provide services. Now, these services can be wide, ranging from ordinary provision of health, infrastructure, whether it is roads, airports, markets, and security. So it's like a common pool where everybody needs to contribute something, to that pool, and then get a benefit from the authority, from the government of the day, by providing that person those services, whether it is health provision, hospitals, schools, railway systems, road network, and the like. So basically, it's to provide services. Yes.
So if I'm not getting that service, why would I still want to pay?
Well, if you're not getting that service, you still need to pay because it is statutory. It is by law. All right? It is statutory. It is by law. However, that same service that you are looking for may be on its way. So, assuming you don't have water in your location, it doesn't mean forever you will not have water, no. But as a pool, as a common pool, and a limited resource, which needs to go around, yes, people can be patient, it will go around. And those services must be provided to all citizens, irrespective of whether they pay the tax or not. Now, it will interest you to know that there are certain categories that are exempted. It's not everybody per se. There are certain categories that are exempted, the low cadre. So if the state went and want to collect the market tax, and then the local government come and they also want to collect, like
see this which you're saying, someone in Calabar, he says his name is David Edet,
okay,
is already complaining about. He said we traders here pay double taxing. Why?
Exactly.
And a lot of them, I'm sure if I go through these questions and conversations here, we'll find people telling us that when they're supposed to pay, I don't know how it happens in the markets, but assuming I'm paying for a location, you pay for location to Mr. A. Probably by 7 you're resuming. By noon, another person is coming again and is telling you that one is for local government, this one is for market people, this one is for this. And you're paying the same thing, 3 times, 4 times. It's not different. When you mention, I intentionally asked for you to list a little bit. There were all different types of taxes.
Exactly.
If I'm paying for one, I may not qualify to pay for the other, meaning that I cannot pay the whole 45.
Yes.
But here, people pay for probably location or stepping allowance. Like somebody told me she went to buy pineapple, I had to pay stepping allowance or flooding allowance. Okay. You pay to A, pay to B, pay to C. At the end of the day, the smoothie, the juice she's making, doubles up the cost. When things like that happen, is it right? Is it justified?
No.
What do we do?
It's not. Now, we have to look at the causes. What are the causes of this kind of scenario where the same person is taxed, twice or multiple on the same issue? Now, technically speaking, for us, if you are paying, for instance, pay as you earn, and then you are charged, let's say, motor park levy or fees, they are different taxes. So like you mentioned, if you pay the whole 25 for the state and then another 120 for the local government, all of that is not multiple taxes. However, you mentioned a critical area where you impose the same kind of tax on the same individual twice, 3 times, or multiple times. That is multiple taxation. And there are prevalences across, sincerely, beyond FCT, across the federation. One typical example is the road taxes, especially for those commercial vehicles or commercial persons. You pay your license here, you go to the next local government, you pay the same thing. It is wrong.
Okay, now let me hold your thoughts on that and quickly go join NTA Abuja to find out what they found out around the multiple taxation for the taxi drivers. Quickly, we'll do that and come back and continue. I see your messages. We'll read them.
There are over 50 taxes and levies collected by the federal, state, and local governments. These taxes and levies have significant cost implications, and it creates uncertainty for business and intending investors. After successfully struggling to stay afloat due to the economic challenges brought by the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses still grapple with the excesses of small officials who are all out to generate revenue for government at different levels through multiple taxation. Among the most hit are taxi drivers and commercial motorcyclists. They describe the situation as abnormal, saying this inhumane treatment is discouraging.
As we can see, we have about daily tickets here. This one is for Union, National Union. This one is for AMAC. Yes. This one was before 200, but have increased to 250 now. What is one now? Still 200. So you can see roughly 500 we pay every day. Okay. You can see again, I can park, like as I park here now, you will see some of all this, they come and enter motor. Why do I park like this? And then they will charge me like 4,500 naira. So if authority can do anything about all this touts to remove them, we'll be happy. Because both private, commercial, nobody have peace. Even you by yourself, if you drive and park here, you will see what they will do to you. You will regret of matching your brake here.
Those 100 naira, that 100 naira. Every time, ticket 100 naira. They cash me, police they cash me, Agora they cash me. Yeah?
We used to buy National Union tickets and AMAC tickets and area council too. We are buying almost 3 tickets daily for Abuja here. Even though you buy for Gwagwalada, when you come area 1, you still buy. When you go to Anya, you still buy. When you go to Kefi, you still buy. You are always, when you come over, you are always buying ticket up and down everywhere. Guess we need government to assist us and reduce the tickets.
We dey pay for AMAC Union, the way we dey feel for the ticket, guess I know they okay.
So what do you want government make they do?
May they help us, may they talk to them, and may they come all those things, then may we dey free our bed.
Majority believe if the tax administrators are honest, reliable, hardworking, and adequate enough, it is anticipated that the performance output of the tax system will be efficient and effective. However, if the opposite is the case, with the rampant trend of multiple taxation, tax administration will lose its credibility from the perspective of taxpayers.
All right, someone just reiterated what you were just saying before we took that, feature, and I believe in pinning something, and knitting it on the board.
Yes.
We will still be buttressing more on the banks, but let's quickly go to Lagos VI precisely. Get to find out the multiple charges now, not taxation, on the banking sector. We'll come back and talk.
Over the years, the issues of bank charges have been on the front burner following several complaints from bank customers on imposition of charges from their banks. These charges come in different forms such as monthly charges, interest in respect of overdrafts, transfer charges, SMS charges, card maintenance charges, to mention a few.
There are too many hidden charges. There's withholding tax. There's before you save in a bank and you get interest. Now you don't get any interest. Rather, they charge you for. They send you multiple SMSs. They charge you for those multiple SMSs over a particular, transaction. This is unfair.
But what happens most of the time is that most customers don't worry about details in their bank accounts, and in the process, all manner of charges that are not supposed to be are being imposed on them by the banks, and sometimes the banks get away with it if there is no complaint, if nobody comes forward to complain about anything. So the customers have a responsibility to worry more about details in their bank accounts, to be aware of what the approved bank charges are, so that they can also use that as a basis to engage the banks.
However, the charges have become a bone of contention as some are genuine while others are done just to hype their balance sheet. What are the standard required charges that commercial banks should demand from their customers?
The central bank has an approved list of bank charges, which stipulates first the various categories of charges and the amount that should be charged. I think the major challenge we have in this space is that of awareness and proper communication and information dissemination. Because ideally, if any bank goes outside of those charges, the customer has the right to challenge or to demand for a refund.
One of the controversial charges is the maintenance charges that is mandatory for every holder of a debit or credit card, but at the same time customers are being charged for every electronic transaction conducted via the ATM. Does these not amount to double charges?
Some of these charges, because there are also no formal engagement by way of advocacy, that is why some of these things are there. So I think as citizens, as corporate organizations, and also as business associations like the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, we have a responsibility to further interrogate these charges, even those that are approved, to be able to determine whether there is any very strong basis for those charges to remain.
Why should the bank charge me for using an ATM? I bank with you, my money is with you. When my money is with you, you can do other transactions with it. So why should you? It's a value-added service. An ATM is supposed to be a value-added service. Why should I pay for an ATM? And if I have to get the ATM from another branch, I get to pay again. I think it's unfair. I think that it's because a lot of us do not understand, banking practices as it is done other places. That's why our banks are ripping us off.
We sought the views of customers if they are happy with the services of their banks.
Given the reality, the security, and the deficiency in infrastructure, there are a lot of cost that is associated with the transaction. So the bank cannot bear the cost alone. It has to be shared, but it has to be reasonable.
It is therefore pertinent on the part of the banks to note that effective communication is needed to inform their customers on the different charges and what they are meant for.
Weekend Deal is still on, and a lot of questions. I'm not going to ask mine anymore. I'll quickly start asking the questions asked by other interviewers behind the cameras. So okay. I go to this first one. You didn't write your name, but it says, who regulates payee? My tax deduction as a police officer in the middle cadre is very high, 12,870 per month. All efforts to get explanation for paying so much has failed. Okay. Can you explain why? And is a Dolbara one. He says, is there any tax payment chart in this country?
All right. Thank you very much. And thanks for the question. Who regulates payee in the country? There are two taxing authorities for payee in the country. Now, if you talk about company income tax, there is only one taxing authority. But for payee, there are two. The police, paramilitary, the military, army, navy, they have been, they are responsible to Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS. Or rather, it's the other way around. FIRS is responsible for their payee. But for other citizens, other than these armed forces and the paramilitary, it is the state internal revenue services, like the FCT Internal Revenue Service, Lagos Internal Revenue Service, for residents of Lagos, Sokoto for residents of Sokoto. But for those paramilitary, so as the person asking this question, let's say it's a police officer, his tax authority is the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
So he wants to solve this problem?
Yes.
So how should he go about it?
He equally asked the question about the chart. if he's listening to us, he should go to the FIRS website. That is www.firs.gov.ng. Under that, he will see what is called a tax calculator. Now, that tax calculator is meant for the public. You key in your income, and it will calculate the right tax for you. So, it is available. And it is particularly unique even for companies. They have two sides for companies and then for individuals.
Okay.
So I think that solves his problem. He can go there, key in his income, and he will see the right tax that he's supposed to pay. Whether it's overpayment or underpayment, he will see it there.
All right, so let's go to the next question.
All
Please,
right.
we can deal. We believe we are overtaxed working with private schools in Sokoto. What's
All
the
right.
formula for payment of tax with reference to salary? That's private school taxation.
Yes. For residents of the states, Sokoto, FCT, Maiduguri, all right, it is the Internal Revenue Services that is the taxing authority. Now, the taxation there is a lot of calculation. You have what is called, for now, tax is based on consolidated income. And we are just talking about annual returns. Now, so that annual returns is supposed to provide you with an avenue to say your consolidated income. You will then have what is called consolidated revenue allowance, deductible from that consolidated income. Now, for a lot of persons, yes, they can be teachers, they can have other sources of income, maybe farming or other things like that that are allowable, that are allowed by the law. Now, they are supposed to declare those income together in that annual returns. So, my simple answer to that is reach out to the State Internal Revenue Service in your area, whether you're in Sokoto or FCT or Lagos.
Whichever state.
Whichever state.
Okay.
And get it done.
All right, thank you very much. It's been quite educating for even me sitting down here. I'm going to have to go back and open that website and get to do the mathematics you taught me just this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And we've been speaking with the Director Tax Operations, Federal Capital Territory Internal Revenue Services, in the person of Malik Tuko. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Right about now, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, a lot is still waiting to be offloaded. Don't go away. All right, earlier on, my guest did mention that certain group of people are not are exempted really from paying tax within a certain period in their life. I don't know the details, but based on the fact that some people have actually asked the same questions, let's join Telma Obaze to get to find out the dynamics of these exemptions.
In August 2017, the federal government of Nigeria granted a tax holiday to 27 industries. Also in 2017, pioneer status was given to the creatives. Talking about the arts, entertainment, recreation, exempting them from payment of corporate income tax and withholding tax on dividend profits for an initial period of 3 years.
If a company is the first to probably want to produce a particular product in the country, the government also gives pioneer status, which is just like tax holiday for about 5 years, which can be renewed. You have for individuals, you have companies, Dangote Cement. They made that road, which is quite good now, that goes between the Lokoja Express Road to Obajana, and it's taking it through to Omuara. I've driven past that road. That covered up for tax.
Again, in April 2020, the federal government granted a 3-year tax incentive under the Industrial Development Income Tax Act to 25 companies. Research shows that small business owners opine that They are just as deserving of tax exemptions as the big corporations.
You need to encourage people to get into the investment world, and the only way you can do it is to give waivers, give holidays. If you want a tax waiver or a tax holiday, you have to apply for it, because if you are just there and nobody knows that you are doing such a thing and you needed a holiday, the government will not know, but you need to apply for it.
The tax holidays, the tax waivers, tax rebates can have a more positive impact on the Nigerian economy, especially when
They decided to open that window from 1st of July 2017, and it was extended furthermore to allow people to come and declare their assets and incomes. And then those taxes were supposed to be paid then that would have attracted penalties and interest were now waived. That window is also to encourage people, and of course the government will get more taxes as revenue. If your cost of production is reduced, obviously your market price of your products will also be reasonable. So if government grants a tax holiday, and say for 5 years, you're not going to pay tax on your end income. So your profit is, instead of saying before tax or after tax, it's just your profit. So by you earning a lot, you must cascade it down to the masses that actually are the consumers. And obviously that will bring about stable prices and also reduction of prices of products.
it is pertinent to clarify this. Are tax incentives attracting investment or giving away revenue? Some say special attention must be given to small businesses in this post-COVID-19 era.
We need to increase more SMEs. We need to also increase more foreign direct investment. I mean, just to advise our business men to try and see how we can actually diversify more. We run away from just buying and selling. That's what actually makes us pursue dollar more. If you can go into production, no matter how small it is, be consistent and be intentional about it.
To obtain a tax exemption for your company or for yourself, you need to apply for a tax clearance certificate at the integrated tax office where you have registered and have been filing tax returns.
All right, education is said is key to succeed in life. Education is power. Nothing beats good knowledge. And I'm sitting down here learning a whole lot this morning. I also believe you're doing the same. All right, moving on, we still need to learn even further. So we're going to join the acting DG NIDA, Dr. Abdullahi Usman Gambo, in a special interview. He will be enlightening us on a lot of things you and I have been complaining about for a while, and that's the telecom and the charges or taxes that come from that. Let's see it.
The information and communications technology (ICT) industry is a component source of tax revenue for government, and as a result of the nature of their services, telecommunications service providers have presence in different locations across the country in order to provide services and support to their subscribers. In the area of voice and data communication, these sometimes lead to conflict with several taxes and levies payable on the operations.
Multiple taxation, certainly these are issues. And for us, in NIDA in particular, and our ministry, Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy in general, is of concern. And it is because of that that our Honorable Minister has series of initiatives. Because the thing is that, as you know, NIDA in particular regulates IT. NCC regulates the communication sector. The ministry is communications and digital economy. It's not as communications as before. So the implementation of all these initiatives, it has to be collaborative. It has to be collaborative. So the ministry is engaging all relevant stakeholders. Well, in discussion with Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Federal Ministry of Finance, all relevant stakeholders within the sector and the industry to ensure that there is some level of harmonization. Certainly, it has been an issue of concern because whenever we engage the operators, the service providers, that is one of the key areas that they are. And so the minister has taken this and is making every effort to ensure that at least, some respite is given in one way or the other. You may recall that the minister engaged the governors towards the kind of charges that they have in terms of the policy in terms of laying fiber, and whereby majority of the governors waive that amount, while others actually kind of pegged it to the 145 a linear meter in terms of charges. That is just one, in addition to the various charges. And then there are some tax incentives too that are already there in place. And so the agency, NITA, and in collaboration with all others, are making sure to ensure that at least some of this, the sector really benefits from. Those operators in the sector benefit from all these incentives. And then, as government, the role of government is to provide an enabling environment. And so government agencies have to work collaboratively together to ensure that, of course, while government provides enabling environment, sufficient revenue is generated to facilitate that development of infrastructure for the benefit of Nigerians, because it's important that Nigerians gain the benefit, the dividends of democracy as we are in. So all these are things that we're taking into consideration. We're not, as agencies of government, doing that on our own. We are engaging all stakeholders at various levels, at the agencies level, at ministerial level, at all levels. We're engaging all relevant stakeholders to ensure that at least we achieve what we are, so that Nigerians will have seamless services, will get the dividends of because government is to provide service for its citizens. Nigerians are citizens, so these services essentially are what we are focusing on to ensure that at least we benefit from everything.
Multiple taxes and levies on operators impact on the services provided by the service providers in terms of service adoption, pricing, quality and affordability, which will invariably have adverse effects on the subscribers.
We are working, as you know, our minister is a resource minister, and he's a very, very active minister. He works 24/7, and as a result of that, we also do 24/7. So he is engaging every stakeholder as far as these issues are concerned, and he is always on it. Actually, his attention is more on ensuring that Nigerians benefit. Yes, the ripple effect essentially, rests on it. We are also consumers. Those of us that are really driving that are consumers. So we also feel, it. But that notwithstanding, the most important thing is to ensure that government provides an enabling environment. So as far as these issues are concerned, we are engaging all relevant stakeholders. We are seeing the dividends of that. When the minister engages the mobile network operators, these services were kind of enhanced in terms of the aspects. And also, they are also full of commendation for the initiatives of the minister, because they have seen that a number of those asks, things they are asking, a number of them have been addressed. So this, in the no distant future, I can assure you that in the no distant future, these issues will be addressed, and Nigerians will be the beneficiaries of this.
As of January 2021, there were 104.4 million internet users in Nigeria. The number increased by 19 million between 2020 and 2021. Should Nigerians worry about data protection among other challenges?
We have a series of challenges in Nigeria. Nobody can argue that. yes, we have challenges, because one of the major challenges really, provision of livelihood. That's a key challenge because sometimes when, we wake up in the morning, majority, we struggle to find, to consider how, will the next meal be. So as we worry on that, trying to find what to feed our families, we have to worry for the data because it's important. Data is life. We live more in the digital world because at the moment, majority of Nigerians, in fact, out of more than half of the population of Nigeria, over 150, we are on the digital world, and we communicate, we relate, we work, we socialize, we do businesses in the digital world, and all that is data. So much data is generated there. So as we worry about the security challenges, basic amenities that we need for life, we have to worry for the data because the data is very, very important. That is wealth in itself. We call on every Nigerian really to be mindful of what they put out there. They should guard their own data because their own privacy while in the digital space, because it's very, very important. We should be worried about it as we are always worried about what we eat, how we do our businesses. We have to worry about the data that we put out there. It's very, very important.
Many industry experts have attested that data, not oil, is now the most valuable resource in the world. But how can Nigeria benefit from this to earn revenue?
Data is new oil, data is life. You can hear so many of that. And it is on the realization of that President Muhammadu Buhari GCFR really in 2019 designated our ministry under the leadership and supervision of the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Abdulhamid, from Ministry of Communications to Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, is to make the best use of the digital technology. So everything now is digital. There's so much to gain from digital technologies, and that is why you see that economies of the world are now transiting. They are changing. They are making the best. Almost everything now is digital. And as you can see, because with the advent of the COVID, if not because of this particular drive that we Nigerians, adopt through the use of digital technologies, wouldn't have been where we are. You may recall that when the advent of the COVID, we went into recession. But soon after, we came out of recession. Why? Because of the impact that digital technologies are making. So we are, of course, already gaining the impact of that digital technology, because most activities now are using digital technologies, are online as opposed to doing the traditional economy.
The information and communications technology (ICT) industry remains a major source of tax revenue for government. And with National Information Technology Development Agency (NITDA's) issuance of 2 Nigerian data protection regulation fines, what should Nigerian companies watch out for to avoid unnecessary regulatory sanctions?
It is important that whatever regulation is put out there, it is for the benefit of everybody. It's for the benefit of Nigerians. It's to ensure that we have fair environment for all. And so, NIDA in particular issues the Nigeria Data Protection Regulations, and there are specific guidelines for organizations on who to engage, how to go about engaging, what to submit, when to submit in terms of information and reports. All these are there. And in order to make it easy, we said, okay, for every organization that is identified that has any aspect of data, as we call data controllers, have to engage the services of what we call Data Protection Compliance Organizations, DCPOs. At the moment, we license over 120. You see, creating another industry. And this is the innovation and creativity that we have. So that, and generating billions of naira to the economy, as well as revenue to government. So every organization, the expectation is that if you keep any data of citizens, you have to ensure that you submit an audit report. To help in preparing that audit report, you need to employ the services of a qualified, a licensed data protection compliance organization. They will take you through all that needs to be done towards making sure that at least you keep to the dictates of the regulation of the law, because it's very, very important. And it is what is giving us that state that we have in Committee of Nations in Africa, in the world at large. We receive commendation every now and then. We receive inquiries not only within Africa, Europe, but across the world from all aspects, trying to see how they can partner, how they can get Nigeria and Nigerians, because of that trust and confidence they have in ensuring that at least we have this data protection regulation. And of course, it's because we are monitoring its compliance. We are monitoring its compliance, and that is what kind of gives us that trust and confidence. Organizations are fined. We are ready to fine every organization. But before we fine an organization, we go through investigation. And so we don't do that as NIDA, we do that with the law enforcement agencies. We have partnership with relevant law enforcement agencies, particularly the police, that we have teams working with them. So we go through that, and then once it's established, you also, the organization, has to ensurely agree with that before the fine is issued and then fine is paid. So in order to kind of mitigate any breach of those laws and guidelines, ensure that you look at the regulations, the requirements, and engage the services of a data protection compliance organization to take you through. As we said, the deadline for submission of data audit report is the 30th of June 2021.
That's how much we can take today. It's been a lovely time for me learning. I didn't come with my book or my slate and chalk, but I'll try to do that tomorrow because there's a whole lot more to learn. Do join me on that again. Bye-bye. Be good citizens, and whatever you do, remember, nemesis is real. Pay your tax. Bye.